What is up, RPG nerds? In this video, I will be talking about Final Fantasy II. I love Final Fantasy II, no matter what the heck everyone else says about it. So in this video, Final Fantasy II review, a flawed yet fantastic fantasy. I have always loved Final Fantasy II since I played it for the first time back in 2014 as a wee bit, I was 7 years old or whatever. I'm 16, just so you know. Anyway, but I wouldn't claim it to be the best game in the series, obviously not, but it is really truly up there as one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, and I will say that till the day I die, even if everyone else hates this game. I mean, not everyone, but most people hate this game, but it is currently, I haven't played every Final Fantasy game yet, but in the mainline series, it's my 6th favorite so far that I've played. I really do love Final Fantasy II. And while I do agree that the NES version is an abysmal mess of a game that no one should ever play in the right mind, I would never recommend that one. The PSP and Pixel Remaster versions, especially the PSP version, have transformed this game into something truly incredible, featuring a highly replayable and customizable gameplay loop, compelling characters, at least for what is expected for NES characters, and what I consider to be some of the best dungeons in the series. Not the normal dungeon. I'll talk about it. I'll get to the dungeons. But it is incredibly disheartening to typically see Final Fantasy II proclaimed as the worst in the series, or for some people, one of the worst RPGs of all time. Today I'm excited to champion the greatness of this remarkable, ahead-of-its-time game in today's RPG Ranked video, a Final Fantasy II review of flawed yet fantastic fantasy. So we're going to start with the battle system in Final Fantasy II. Yes, I think this battle system deserves an 8 out of 10. Before you all come at me with torches, pitchforks, swords, and bows, I'm just going to talk about why I like this battle system. I mean, most people say that this is like the worst battle system in the series. Like, I look at like Game Rant and stuff, and I see, boom, Final Fantasy II in the bottom, then Final Fantasy 1, and then Final Fantasy 15, or whatever the heck people are putting. I don't know why 15 gets so low all the time, but like, I like Final Fantasy II's battle system. I think it's very refined. I mean, it's really simple, but it's refined. I like it better than the FF1 battle system, better than the FF3 battle system. I mean, I feel like Final Fantasy II always has so many enemies on screen. Like, you get in a battle, and there's like 12 leg eaters. I mean, maybe not that many, but there's like 10. And there's like so many battles. Also, why have leg eaters never been in anything except FF2? Those guys are epic. Hornets and all this stuff. Anyway, there are tons of enemies on screen at a time, and what I love about this game is that there are like the back and the front rows actually mean something. Like, the only game that I can think of where back and front rows actually mean that much, at least off the top of my mind, other than this game, is Lost Odyssey, which happens to be my favorite game of all time. But I love that, like, if you're in the back row, like, sure, you got to be casting magic and using your bows, but also you're not getting hit. So, like, there's this strategic element, like, okay, I'm not going to do as much damage, but I am not getting hit either. Whereas, like, back rows in other Final Fantasy games, like, oh, I take less damage. In FF2, it's epic. I love how the back rows and the front rows are. Also, I love the way the magic in this game is, like, strategic. Like, you gotta think about how you're gonna use your magic. Should you use your low level spell, save MP, and level it up? Or should you use your strongest spell? Like, for example, let's say I'm fighting a group of leg eaters, right? Okay, that's actually a bad example. Let's say I'm fighting a bunch of red flawns or something. Should I cast my... Okay, that's also a bad example. Let's say I'm just fighting a bunch of... I'm trying to think of an enemy that doesn't really have a weakness. Oh my gosh. My mind's blanking right now. But, okay, let's go back to Red Flawns. Let's say, am I going to use my level 8 Fire spell? Or am I going to use my level 3 Holy spell? I just got Holy. I was just at Mysidia. And I'm like, okay, should I level up Holy because I know it's eventually going to be more powerful? Or should I use Fire because it's more MP, but it does more damage? And then, but Holy, I want to level it up. And a lot of people think this is annoying to do because they're like, ugh, I just don't want to be... Like, I just want to use my 2 spells and stop trying to level up other spells. But you know what? I love this. I thought it was intriguing, fun to manage. I always found it just super cool that you, like, really had to think about what magic spells you're going to cast. I don't think there's many games where like you have to strategize as much with your spell casting. I thought it was really fun. I mean, I do think it takes way too long to level up spells. If it just cut it in half, I would like this a lot better. But other than that, like, I'm not complaining. I really like this spell casting in this game. And then I also always have liked that hitting yourself actually benefits you. And I think it's silly that everyone's like, ugh, to get through Final Fantasy 2 you have to hit yourself. No, you don't. This game is totally playable if you don't hit yourself. Just get good. Like, yes, you're gonna die, but I mean, just get over it. Like, I mean, it, like, what's the point of a game if it's the easiest game on the planet? Anyway, I like that hitting yourself can make you better. Because, I mean, if you really think about it in real life, if you let yourself go through pain, you're going to get better at getting over pain. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you let yourself get punched by someone, the next time you get punched by someone, you're going to expect it more. Like, it's not going to hurt as much. I mean, I know that's stupid, but, like, I like that hitting yourself can benefit you. I think it's hilarious. Like, I've always thought it's so funny. Especially in, like, the older versions where you could, like, cancel. Like, you could hit and then cancel and it would buff your stats even though you didn't actually do anything. It's so quirky. I love it. Anyway, it's just, I feel like hitting yourself is, like, everyone's like, ugh, I hate grinding like that. But isn't it more fun to hit yourself than just fight battles over and over again? Like, I'd rather be hitting myself and having a jolly old time laughing at how I'm just obliterating my own party and grinding that way than just endlessly fighting boring battles that just give a lot of experience. Like, I like trying to find ways of hitting myself where I can get as low of HP as possible and then get as big of health gains as possible, but not die, or else I'm not going to get anything. Like, I thought that was a pretty strategic way of grinding, if you ask me. I thought it was fun, but I mean, the encounter rate is just as high as it was in Final Fantasy 1, but you know what? Since every battle, you have a chance of, like, every battle, your stats, one of your stats is going to raise. I feel like that's one thing that I do like about the system, because in other games, you're always like, oh my gosh, okay, so I'm going to level up eventually, but okay, I didn't get really any rewards after this battle, except some experience and some gil. But no, in Final Fantasy 2, like, after every battle, you're like, oh, my MP went up, yes, I can see how much my MP went up. Maybe that's only me. I love statistics and all that stuff, so seeing one of my stats go up, like, every battle was just, I don't know, more gratification for me. I am one of the biggest Final Fantasy II sympathizers on the planet, I feel like, and I just love this game. Love me or hate me, I love the combat in this game. I'm not going to give it a 9 or a 10. I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm not going to say that this game is like some breakthrough battle system. I'm not saying this is Grandia. I'm not saying this is Ni no Kuni. Okay, a lot of people don't like the Ni no Kuni battle system. Never mind. I'm not saying this is Grandia. I'm not saying this is Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. I'm not saying this is Eternal Sonata. I'm just saying I like this freaking battle system. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you think. I think it's awesome. Anyway, let's move on to the story, which I'm going to give a 7.5. I actually really like the story in Final Fantasy II. So let's get the bad out of the way first of all. I mean, the overarching plot is rather simple. There's a corrupt empire trying to destroy the world, and your band of rebels trying to take them down. FF6 does it better. I'm not going to lie. Star Wars does it better. But, I mean, come on. The individual moments are where the strength of Final Fantasy II's storytelling comes in. I mean, these moments elevate what could be a story of a 3 out of 10, or like a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and it brings it up to a 7.5 because the individual temporary character moments are awesome. The game delves into profound themes of grief, loss, and death with remarkable depth and power, particularly when considering the additional storyline told in the Soul of Rebirth portion of the game. In fact, it could be argued that aside from Final Fantasy XVI, this is the darkest entry in the series. I really like that it actually commits to character deaths. I'm sick of the BS in Final Fantasy IV where everyone's just dying left and right and then they're actually not dead. I like that Final Fantasy II actually had the ambition to feel like a real world. Because no, there's not plot armor in Final Fantasy II. Your beloved characters are dying. Like, it's actually crazy. And for an NES game, like, this was crazy. I mean, okay, I'm 16. It's not like I grew up playing this game. It's not like I was alive when this game came out, but still, like, I'm impressed by the amount of characters that die in this game and the fact that it doesn't feel like overblown. It doesn't feel like they're dying for no reason, especially with Solar Rebirth, when it's like, oh my gosh, we're killing the Emperor in the real world and in heaven so he never comes back. I thought that was awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was so cool, and I love the Solar Rebirth, but I just really like all these character deaths. They all were emotional for me. I mean, this game didn't really say it in words, but you look at those sprites, you look at like the face of Maria just being depressed in the PSP version and stuff, and you see that. And I mean, the characters in Final Fantasy II are really simple, but Minwu and Rickard are just such cool characters. Like, their design, like Final Fantasy II has some of the best character designs in the series, if not my favorite. I think they all look so epic, and just Minwu and Rickard have this sense of like suave to them that not really any other Final Fantasy characters really have for me. Or Gordon with his like, oh my gosh, like he actually has a character arc, which is kind of cool. Like, he goes from this wimpy like younger brother of an actually cool dude to being honestly a pretty cool king. Or we get Layla, who has a lot of like pirate personality and stuff. Like, honestly, I really like this story, and I'm not going to say that it's revolutionary because the overarching plot kind of sucks. Yes, it's just rebels going against an empire, but like these characters really, I don't understand how we go from like Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 2 and the characters are just actually here, and then we go down to Final Fantasy 3 with characters that are honestly just as bad as Final Fantasy 1. But Final Fantasy 2, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like the protagonists have any personality. Like, if the protagonist actually had anything, I'm going to talk about the characters a bit more soon, but yes, the protagonists are more like, they're not silent protagonists, but they're kind of like self-insert characters. But these temporary characters just make the story awesome. Also, amid the deeper themes, amid the character moments, this game has some unforgettable sequences in the different dungeons. While the dungeon design is not the greatest, which I want to talk about soon, the dungeon ideas themselves are awesome. We get a freaking cyclone. We get a big airship. We get Palamatia Castle, where you like there's some crazy moment at the end where the Emperor isn't really the Emperor, and then your brother tries to like turn into the Emperor. Like, what the frick? You get to go inside of Leviathan. You can't tell me that that isn't cool. You get the Unknown Palace and Pandemonium, which are both awesome dungeons with tons of bosses, with tons of stakes, with epic music, with great bosses in the form of the Dark and the Light Emperor, which, to be honest, might be, like, the Emperor fights in Final Fantasy II might be my favorite final boss fights in the whole series. I don't know, maybe X-Death or Ultimacia. I don't know, but I still love the fights against the Emperor. Like, I'm not gonna lie, those are some epic final boss fights. Anyway, that doesn't really have to do with the story. That has more to do with the combat system. I will say, I almost put this game at like an 8.5 because I really do like the characters. I like these individual moments and all these epic areas. However, the middle section of this game, the middle section of the second act is terrible. The pacing is so slow. I mean, I like that we get open-endedness. Like, we can go get the black mask before the white mask, and we can like go to the tropical island or Mysidia Cave first, and you can go to the basement of Finn. You know, there's a little bit of freedom here and harkening a little bit back to the original Final Fantasy 1. But oh my gosh, this middle section is so slow. There's no dialogue, there's no good dungeons, so it's just these uninspired areas. Dice Cave isn't too bad, but Mysidia Cave, Tropical Island, and Finn basement are all boring. I would have loved to see the party get the Crystal Rod in a much more epic and unorthodox way that didn't have a bunch of dumb fetch quests, but I guess it was serviceable enough as it was. In summary, Final Fantasy II's narrative is fundamentally basic and uneven, but still it manages to shine brightly through its exceptional moments as well as its commendable pacing it achieves in the first and third acts of the game. I really enjoyed the Final Fantasy II story. Alright, let's talk about the characters really quick. I'm going to go out of order from my original script and just talk about the characters since I was already talking about them. I really do love the characters in this game, and I'm going to give the characters, just like I gave the story 7.5, I'm going to give the characters 7.5. I would give the characters maybe an 8, 8.5 if it wasn't for Fear Maria and Guy being the most boring protagonists in the series outside of the Warriors of Light and Lunith and crew from Final Fantasy III. Because the temporary party members are awesome, but the main characters are nothing. Like, I mean, they're along for the ride. Like, you're kind of just like self-insert characters, listening to orders, stumbling upon people who actually make a difference in the plot. But these 3 characters are barely more interesting than the Warriors of Light. The only reason I even remember anything is Guys speak beaver, and Fear looks cool, and Maria has emotion sometimes in her sprite work. So, and she's Leon's brother, which makes her a little bit better than nothing. But, I mean, like, I don't know, and just, wow. I mean, from a game where Minwoo, Rickard, Joseph, Scott, Gordon, Hilda, we get all these epic characters, and then the main characters just suck. Like, it's really bad. I mean, I love the designs of the Final Fantasy II characters. There's just something so special about these characters to me. And then the main characters just suck. I mean, they still look cool. I still like them, but they're terrible. Like, let's be honest. I wanted to give the characters in this game a higher score than 7.5. I desperately wanted to, but I couldn't. Like, the main characters are terrible, so yeah. Alright, let's move into the art and graphics, an 8.5. Oh my goodness, the pixel work in the Pixel Remaster and PSP version of this game are just amazing. I love the designs of the Final Fantasy II characters so much, and I'm not going to give it higher than an 8.5. I just can't. I really wanted to, but as much as I love the designs, the artwork, I mean, it's good, but it's not the best artwork ever. I mean, the remarkable graphical upgrades, though, are amazing. Like, Fearin looks so cool. I love Rickard's look, Minwoo's look, Layla's look, Maria, Guy, all of them. Okay, Scott's a little basic, but I really like all these characters. Like, they look so cool. Fearin, one of the coolest looking Final Fantasy protagonists of all time. Still, like, no one. Like, honestly, I like top 3 character designs of any RPG character ever. I think that Fearin looks so freaking cool. And I mean, in terms of the graphics, I mean, it's not really the greatest thing. I'm not going to say that this game looks as good as Octopath Traveler 2 or Paper Mario the Origami King in terms of, like, the 2D sprite looks, or honestly, like, Final Fantasy Dimensions 2, I still love how that game looks. Like, I can't give this more than 8.5, but the graphics in this game are still stunning, and I think they're just amazing. I love them. I like the graphics in this game a lot better than 1, 3, maybe even 4, 5, 6. I think it might have my favorite graphics of the first 6 Final Fantasy games. I mean, I gave them all an 8.5 in my various reviews, but I still think that this is a high 8.5, if that makes any sense. Probably not, but whatever. Anyway, let's move into the music. The music hits different in this game for me. I love the music in Final Fantasy II. It's up there with some of my favorites. I would say my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack of the ones I've played. I haven't played like 13 and 15 yet, and I know the soundtracks are awesome. But out of the first 10 games, I think this is going to be my 4th favorite. Final Fantasy III hits different for me. That's my favorite for some reason. Then 10, then 7, and then 2. I love Final Fantasy II soundtrack. It's brief. There's not that many songs in it, but every single freaking song in Final Fantasy II is a banger. The best soundtrack, I don't know. It's so good. The Rebel Army song is amazing. Like, I can't say how good that song is. It's so simple, but it hits right in the feels. The game, like, it's so somber but so, like, hopeful at the same time. I love that song. And same with the melancholy, somber world map theme. It's awesome. The battle theme is my favorite of the 2D era, and honestly, the remastered version of this battle theme is my 3rd favorite battle theme in the series, behind Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 7. I love the battle theme in this game. It's so good. And the Imperial Army song is just menacing. I really like it a lot, and it really is in contrast. It foils very well with the Rebel Army song. The boss battle themes are so epic and so whack. Like, what the heck is the song that plays during the Sergeant fight? Like, it's so weird. It's like weird, like, bagpipes sounding garbage. I don't even know. it's like it's such a weird song, but I really like it. We even get like even the like the more like the less memorable tracks in this game are still awesome, like the Sanctuary theme, the Princess's Seduction. Like, I can't think of a single song in this game that I don't love, and I don't know if I can really say that about like any of the other Final Fantasy soundtracks. Like, I can think of more mediocre songs that I don't love in Final Fantasy 7 or 10. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I really do not like the Thunder Plains theme in Final Fantasy X. I really don't like some of the more mundane themes in Final Fantasy VII, but I cannot say there's a single track in Final Fantasy II that I don't love. And Pandemonium, the final dungeon theme in Final Fantasy II, is one of my favorite songs in the entire series, top 5. Like, I love the final dungeon theme in this game. So I'm going to give the music a 9 out of 10. The only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is I wish there were a bit more tracks in this game, and I can't say that a track with 25 songs is as good as one with like 50 that's hitting the same highs. So I'm not going to say this is better than Final Fantasy 7 or 10 soundtrack, but it is up there with me for me. And if this was a bit longer of a soundtrack, it would easily get a 10 in my book. I think Nobuo Uematsu hit perfectly the themes of Final Fantasy 2 with the soundtrack. Oh my gosh, this music elevates this game for me so much. I love the music in this game. Alright, the side quest in Final Fantasy II. To be specific, I'm only talking about the PSP version here, but I think the PSP version is by far the best version of the game. Like, by far. Or the mobile version, the defunct mobile version now that I still don't know why Square Enix just couldn't keep both versions, the Pixel Remaster and the older mobile versions. But anyway, the side quests in the PSP versions of this game are some of my favorite side quests ever. I know people don't agree with me here. I know I'm the only one who adores okay, maybe not the only one. I'm one of the only people who thinks FF2 is a phenomenal game, but really, I'm going to have to say I love the Arcane Labyrinth. The idea of a dungeon where you manipulate it to your whim with wordplay is awesome. I love that you get to use the keywords, which I still think keywords are such a cool system, because being able to pick what you want to talk to NPCs about, I still think that that's something that way more RPGs need to do, because when you get, maybe not in the same way, but what other games do you just get to go up to an NPC and be like, hey, let's talk about this, let's chat about this, oh, you want to know about the Soulfire, oh, you want to talk about the Dreadnought, oh, you want to talk about the Rebel Army, oh, you want to talk about freaking chocobos or whatever, you want to talk about airships, you can talk to the NPCs about whatever the frick you want, and I think that's awesome. And I love that it goes into the Arcane Labyrinth dungeon, and there's so many unique floors, and there's so many, you get to get the ultimate weapons, and you get to fight Doomian or whatever his name is, and you get the 2 hidden spells, Revive or Destroy, and you only get to pick one, so it adds to that excitement. I love this dynamic dungeon, and I love the Arcane Labyrinth. It is one of my favorite dungeons in any RPG or any game ever. It's just super special to me. I've always loved the Arcane Labyrinth. And want to know what I love more than the Arcane Labyrinth? The Soul of Rebirth. I think that the Soul of Rebirth is one of the most novel things ever. And in a game where death is a huge focus of the game, the Soul of Rebirth was a genius addition to the GBA and PSP version of this game. You get to confront the heavenly version of the Empire, and Emperor, and I think it's kind of whack that this game gives everyone a second chance. The Emperor, one of the worst people ever, still gets to go to heaven, and that you can still kill people in heaven. I think that's crazy. And the cutscenes when you kill the Light Emperor and you get to see the Dark Emperor and the Light Emperor, and then you see them all come together, and you see Minwu and Rickard and Joseph and Skull all be like, hey, we did it. And so did Fear, Maria, Guy, and Leon. And then you get I guess Gordon and Layla are right there with you, and you see all the characters there, even some of them in death. I just love this conclusion, and I think it's one of the best Final Fantasy conclusions. I honestly cannot say how much I love the Solar Rebirth and the Arcane Labyrinth. I mean, other than these two side quests, there aren't that many side quests in the game, other than like what the Toad minigame, getting the Blood Sword, getting the Mass Immune or whatever, or Excalibur or whatever the heck weapon it is. But I can't not give this a 10 out of 10 because I adore the Arcane Labyrinth and the Soul of Rebirth. And I just love Final Fantasy II, guys. I can't stop talking about how much I love Final Fantasy II. I love this game. Alright, let's move on to the next category, which is dungeons, which I'm going to give an 8, which is probably the wackiest thing. And like, nobody's going to agree with me here because everyone talks about how much the dungeon design sucks in Final Fantasy II, and I'm going to have to agree. I'm not the biggest fan of the like trap rooms and all that stuff, which I'll talk about in a second, but the dungeons are so freaking epic. I mean, okay, there's some bad ones, like the Cave of Mysidia is a dismal filler dungeon plagued by dead ends and infuriating enemies. The Dice Cave follows suit with its recycled mini-bosses and brutal difficulty spikes. Navigating the tropical island is a perplexing ordeal that constantly leaves you questioning your whole life. While these 3 dungeons are undoubtedly frustrating, they don't single-handedly drag down the game score because Final Fantasy II boasts a plethora of exceptional dungeons. Among the standout dungeons are Cashuan Keep, a visually striking and perilous location housing the soulfire needed to vanquish the Dreadnought. The Colosseum offers a chance to reunite with Gordon, save Hilda, and face off against a formidable behemoth. The Snow Cavern, set in a captivating location with a snowmobile, which is not in any other Final Fantasy game, which I still love the snowmobile. I think that's epic. No other RPG, like FF2 has so many things that no other RPG has ever done, and I just love that about this game. Anyway, there's 2 bosses in this place, and it has some emotionally charged moments with Joseph. The Leviathan dungeon introduces Rickard through a captivating plot twist. I love this part. Honestly, I think I like the Leviathan attack better in Final Fantasy II than in Final Fantasy IV, which might get me shot and killed on the streets, but whatever, I don't care. The Dreadnought, a massive and engaging dungeon, provides memorable moments and an epic scale, saving Hilda, and blowing it up with fire, and then running out of the dungeon. I still love that moment, and then teasing that Leon is evil, and just all of that is awesome. I love the Dreadnought dungeon as much as getting blinded by every enemy pissed me off. I still love the dungeon. The Mysidian Tower is a brilliant conclusion to a somewhat lackluster second act, offering unique floors, 3 challenging bosses, but 3 bosses, the different floors for the different elements, and a substantial amount of plot with the Ultima Tome and Minmu's sacrifice and all this crap. And then the Cyclone dungeon. How many games just let you fly into a cyclone on a dragon? Like, come on. People are underselling what FF2 did. Come on, guys. And then the Pandemonium and Unknown Palace, abodes of the Dark and Light Emperors, respectively. I'm just telling you. I was saying earlier, the boss fights and the epic conclusion to these games. And the Arcane Labyrinth, one of my favorite dungeons. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a 9 or 10 out of 10 because, I mean, there's games like Zelda out there with amazing dungeons. But I am going to say this is an 8 out of 10. I mean, there are some really bad dungeons like those first 3 I was talking about. But I think this deserves an 8 out of 10. And honestly, I could give this a 9 out of 10 if I wanted to because there are so many cool dungeons in this game. I mean, if it weren't for all the trap rooms, I would give this a 9 out of 10 because the dungeons, just by design in this game, are awesome. Alright, let's talk about the customization system, which is a part that everyone hates about this game, but frick, I love this. 9 out of 10 for me. I mean, in the NES version, easy 0 out of 10, because any game that you buff a stat and it lowers another stat is the stupidest thing ever. Like, I should not lose magic attack because I decided to hit with a sword. That's stupid. But in the later versions, I love this. Like I was saying earlier, the gratification that comes with having a stat raise every battle is awesome. Honestly, I need to play the Saga games. What am I doing not playing the Saga games? Because I freaking love this. But anyway, the newest versions of this game, I love this. If you attack with a sword, you get better at using a sword. If you get hit by a physical attack, your HP and stamina go up. If you equip a shield and light armor, you get tons of evasion. If you get hit by status magic, your magic defense will go up. If you cast a black magic spell, magic intelligence and the spells level will go up. Cast a white magic spell, magic spear, and the spells level will go up. Like, I love that this game is, like, infinitely customizable. I mean, it's not... I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10 because, like, there's materia. And, like, FF7 materia is better. The junction system in FF8 is better. Like, those are more customizable. But just really, this is the most realistic customization system you can get in a game. Just, like, it's so cool that attacking with something actually matters. Like, once you're using a sword, instead of just, oh, general experience. Like, what the heck is experience? Like, you fight a battle and all of a sudden you're just better at everything. Like, what if I never used magic? Why do my magic points go up? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I just think that, I mean, yes, I'm not playing games for realism, but I really do like how leveling up your abilities and stats is so fluid and tweakable. The only things holding it back are, one, the simplicity in the abilities. Like, there's no, like, really, like, cool abilities like you get in later Final Fantasy games. And two, there are a couple of questionable quality of life issues with this system. Alright, now we're getting in the category that holds this game back for me and a lot of other people from being one of the all-time great Final Fantasy games. And that's the quality of life, which I'm going to score at a 5 out of 10. There are some wacky, weird decisions on this game. First of all, the enemy tile mapping, like, you walk, like, 3 steps the wrong way, and all of a sudden you're fighting, like, really hard enemies. Like, what? Why? Hold up. That's stupid. Okay. And then second of all, there's some wacky difficulty spikes. Because, like, one dungeon you'll fight a boss, and the next dungeon you're just fighting, like, 3 of them as a normal enemy. Like, what is that? And that causes so many people to grind and hit themselves instead, and it just doesn't make them like the customization system. Because the customization system really isn't the problem. It's more of the wacky difficulty spikes and stuff. Like, the customization system's perfectly fine. Also, why are there missable keywords? Like, not really missable, but honestly, like, I don't want to have to go back to Paloom or Poft for, like, the 8th time because, oh, I forgot to talk to Sid about the Dreadnought. Like, come on, that was kind of stupid. But anyway, I love the keyword system. I want to see it more, but it's kind of wacky that it was hard to get some of those keywords, and it was cryptic on how to get them. But really, the keyword system is something that really needs to, like, no RPG really lets you do this. Like, even 30 years later, I miss that. But really, the trap rooms is bad too. I mean, like, all of these things I don't really hate that much, but they are really bad game design flaws. Because I love Final Fantasy 2 so much, I can get over all these flaws, but really, these are all stupid. Like, the trap rooms, come on. Like, what? Why would you do this? Like, there's no addition to this. Like, give us some treasure chests at least. Like, why are there literally 4 doors right next to each other, and, like, they're just dead ends? Like, come on, Squaresoft, Square Enix, whatever the heck. Like, why? I mean, I think in the Pixel Remaster, there's a map, and it kind of makes so that there's no point in those rooms anymore. But, I don't know. Like, some of these, I wanted to just ignore the quality of life issues in this game, because they don't bug me that much, because I just love this game. But come on. I had to be honest. And, I mean, these quality of life issues did not sour my experience with this underrated and overly hated, amazing Final Fantasy game. But they did, like, I'm not going to lie and say that this game is great in the quality of life department. So, yeah. Alright, so what's the verdict for Final Fantasy 2, in my opinion? I give this game a fun factor of 8 and an overall score of 81%. There have been a lot of timeless classics in the RPG genre, but few games have made an impact as great as Final Fantasy II did. Final Fantasy II introduced the Chocobo. It introduced Sid, introduced the Dragoons, introduced, well, characters to RPGs. Like, come on. That's, like, insane. Like, this is the first game that actually had freaking characters. That's epic. It introduced a progression system that would branch off into a whole new series, Saga. It sparked one of the biggest debates in the Final Fantasy community. Is it the worst Final Fantasy, or is it a hidden gem, timeless if not more timeless than the original, which I believe? Well, I'm more aligned with the second category, as this is one of my favorite entries in the series. This is my 6th favorite Final Fantasy game. I mean, I know that might not be the biggest thing to say, but most people say it's the worst, so that's a pretty big deal. I love this game, honestly. And this narrative tugs at the heartstrings. It's a world teeming with intrigue and revolutionary gameplay mechanics that are not talked about as much as they should be. Final Fantasy II is an unforgettable and enduring adventure, as flawed as it may be. I will never forget the impact this game made on me when I played it for the first time in 2014. This is one of the foundational games, along with Final Fantasy, Blue Dragon, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of White Witch. Like, it's up there for me as one of the games that made me fall in love with RPGs, and I will stand by the fact till the day I die that this is an amazing game. And I'm not going to say it's above an 81%, because I'm not going to let my love for this game blind me from some of the objective flaws of this game. But it's not the best game in the series, but it certainly is not the worst. I highly recommend this game to anyone, even if they have been told to not previously play it. Because there's so many people I see online who say, oh, I was never going to play FF2, and then I played it and I loved it. And one day, I want to make another video just talking about how I love this game. And I want to talk about how this game is one of my favorites in the series. I'm going to make my own video on that sometime, if not before I post this video. But I just need to, please tell me if you love FF2, because I want to talk about FF2 to fans of FF2. And I just will always adore this game. I highly recommend this game to anyone. And I think it's a classic JRPG experience that you may never forget, because I will never forget this game. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to check out my other Final Fantasy reviews on the channel. If you are interested in playing Final Fantasy II and you haven't played it yet, maybe I swayed you to playing this game, please be sure to check out the affiliate links if you are planning on buying it. It would help a lot for the channel, and it would just mean so much to me if you would click those links to buy this game over just buying it and only supporting Amazon. You know what I'm saying? I work hard to make these videos, so it'd mean a lot if you would decide to support the channel with those affiliate links. Thank you all for watching this video, and please have a fantastic day. And always remember that Final Fantasy II does not suck. Have a great day, RPG nerds.